Hello, everyone. Welcome to our panel of experts today that we are going to be talking about stress-free living. I'm very, very excited to hear what you both have to say about this today. My name is Lynn Pelzer. I'm the COO at FemCity. And for everyone watching, we have a couple of our Founder Circle, formerly known as Global members, experts with us today who I'm going to introduce to you. And we're going to be talking about this topic of stress-free living. It makes me want to take like a deep breath when I even just say that phrase, like a cleansing breath. And I want more of it myself. So I'm really excited to hear what both of you have to say. We have Melinda Van Fleet. Hi, Melinda. She's a certified life and business coach. And we have Muneerah Shiraz, who is a holistic nutritionist coming from the west coast of Canada, right?
Yeah.
As I remember, because you used to live in the Toronto area.
That's right.
It's great. And Melinda is a newer member with us, and we're just so excited to get to know you and take lots of good information from you and share with all the other femmes. So I appreciate you both for coming on. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to start with you, Melinda. Do you want to share just a little bit more about you and your background, about what you do? Just a minute of some more information for us.
Yeah, sure. So I started my career in the corporate world with really high-end retailers as a buyer for 16 years, Saks Fifth Avenue, Target, Victoria's Secret, for example. And my husband and I were laid off at the same time in 2009. I wanted to get into sales. My husband wanted to be a charter boat captain, and we manifested moving to the Florida Keys. That's a really short description. We live in Key Largo, 14 years now. And I transitioned from my multi-million-dollar sales business that I built from scratch into speaking, writing, and coaching. About 4 years ago, and did it first as a side hustle and then went full-time about 2 years ago. So I've had quite the journey. My husband and I also built an extremely successful charter boat fishing business, which is now also coaching as well. We started that in 2020, and that's called Good Karma Sport Fishing and Coaching. So I wear a multitude of hats. I've also been a freelance writer for 3.5 years. I've written 2 best-selling books. I'm a speaker, and yeah, I do a lot, and I love to help women do the same, empower them, find their own personal gifts, and get started on something maybe they've been wanting to do their whole lives.
Well, stress-free living sounds like you've probably had to learn a thing or two about that, or else you wouldn't be where you are now. So thank you for all that. Muneerah, how about you? Tell us a little bit more about you and what you do.
Okay, so a little bit like Melinda, I also was in the corporate sector. I was in human resources for many, many years. And then life happened, things happened, and I was like, I'm done with this. I need to move on to something else. I went back to school in my 40s to study nutrition. And I'm in love with what I do. I'm very passionate about living a holistic, healthy life. I work with women 40 plus, helping them with their metabolism, with their hormones, weight loss. And, similar to Melinda, I love this idea of helping women, empowering them. This is what FemCity is also about. So it resonates really well with me. And that transitions not just from nutrition, but also other aspects of life. So like stress or sleep or other lifestyle habits that impact our health as much as our close to as much as food does.
Wow, thank you for that. And thank you I listened to a podcast recently that was very good for the FemCity about some menopausal stuff. So that was also very good. So thank you for that. Anybody who wants to know about that, go listen, because Muneerah kind of gave us the goods, not the fluffy stuff, the goods. It was really, really great. So I appreciate that. And our theme this month is wellness. So oh my gosh, like stress, I've heard people say is the silent killer, okay? And I think that it just affects so many things, and our world is just so used to having all this stress. So until you realize that you need to do something about it, right? So I am really excited to get some more information about this. So the question for today is, what is the biggest industry secret when it comes to stress-free living? So I'll give it to you, Melinda, first, and then I'm going to come to you, Muneerah. And Just share what you can with us about that.
Mm-hmm. My first real hardcore experience with stress was when I was with a very large retailer who anyone in the United States, I'm sure you've stepped in their doors before. And I had some really horrible things happen to me. I ended up being so stressed out, I couldn't eat for months. I literally could only drink Diet Coke and once in a while eat some macaroni and cheese. So I completely understand what it can be like to live with crippling stress, where you're just like, you can't do anything, you can barely function. What ended up happening was God intervened and I lost my job. And things ended up magically working out in my favor. I got a better job, I made more money, all these other things like happened, right? But what I took from this experience was that sometimes we hang on to stress and we're afraid of change. We have fear. So sometimes we end up sitting in the stress and it makes it worse. And what I've learned from this, because since then I've had many other stressful things happen when my husband and I lost our jobs at the same time, for example, also dealing with my husband's depression and anxiety can often affect the partner just as much as the other person. But I've realized that I have the power to change it, right? So I have the power to take a deep breath. I have the power to go outside for a walk. I have the power to say no to things. I have all the power to change things. And there's really, at the end of the day, no excuse for sitting in the stress. It may take a little longer to get through it, and you may have to figure some things out and ask for help, either from the universe or from other people or resources. But we all have the power to make those changes, and sitting in it doesn't really do you any favors in the long run. So that would be my big secret, is having some awareness and then being able to really dial in and figure out what you can do to change your situation and make the appropriate action steps to start moving in that direction.
I love that you said that you have the power to do it, because often I think when we're in really stressful situations, especially ongoing long ones, it's easy to feel like you've lost all your power around it. And you know, especially if you're getting those physical symptoms of, you know, not eating, sleeping, all those kind of things, it can feel very powerless. And the realization that you actually do still have the power, the same as you did before the stress, that's powerful in itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You just have to remind yourself and keep reminding yourself. That's the hard part, to get out of that autopilot.
Right. Yeah. And not just ruminating on the on the one part of it and moving to the powerful part of it. Okay. Thank you, Melinda. I really, really appreciate that. Muneerah, what do you say?
I think the big thing is to realize that whether you think you have stress or not, you have stress.
Right.
Given that the kind of world we live in today, given as women, the multiple hats that we wear, I don't believe that it's possible that there are people out there that have no stress. Maybe a very, very tiny percentage. But for most of us, I remember going to a naturopath years ago when my kids were small. And she said to me, okay, so what is your level of stress out of 10? And I was like, oh, maybe 4 or 5. And she's like, really? She listed it. She's like, you've just told me you've got this going on in your life, and you're telling me your level of stress is 5 out of 10? It's not possible. So, you know, we often don't realize the stress that we may have taken on. I think for a lot of women, multitasking is normal. Being involved in different things is normal, but all those things do add some level of stress on us. And so it's not about eliminating the stress, it's about managing the stress. And knowing that whether you think you have stress or not, we need to try and have some de-stressing activities that we participate in on a daily basis. Whether that's 5 minutes or 30 minutes, it doesn't matter. But something that you can say, okay, I'm just going to take these few minutes out for myself, and I'm going to go do my nature walk, or I'm going to do my journaling, or whatever it is that works for you. But I think to think that life can be stress-free is not realistic. But I think managing stress is extremely important. I'm also seeing a lot of clients who have health issues. Their test results are clear, their imaging results are clear, but they have a lot of stress in their lives. And all the recent research that I have read is talking a lot about how stress levels can translate into health conditions. So health conditions, people are going to the doctor with backaches, they're doing scans, everything is fine. Why is there so much back pain? Why is there so much neck pain? Stress is the result. So when you say stress is the silent killer, in some cases it can be if it's not managed.
Wow. And do you think we just normalize this level of stress we have all the time? Like it's so normal. You think, well, everybody has this. So then we discount that it's actually stress.
Yeah, it's normal. This is how life is now. You've got your work, you've got your kids, you've got any health issues, aging parents, financial concerns, whatever. Everybody has the little bucket of issues in their own lives. And we have normalized, I think, especially women, because we're so used to taking on so much. We look after the domestics, we look after the child rearing, we look after working, we look after the family, everything. So a couple more in our bucket is not really a big deal, but actually it is.
But actually it is. And Melinda, you mentioned too, the stress that you were taking on when your husband was going through something, which I think is also, for both people in a partnership that would happen. But for women, I feel like we take on the mental load of a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And the mental load of thinking we need to figure it all out, and we need to make things better, and we need to handle it all, we need to pre-plan, and it's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And honestly, I'm going to say though, I'm pretty stress-free. So I do a ton of self-work. I meditate several times a day. I go for my morning walk about 5 o'clock. I have my day planned. We go to bed about 7:30. We don't watch a lot of TV or news. So I have a lot of tools that I use to manage the stress. I don't believe in making excuses. I believe always that when someone tells me they have back pain, I'm like, yep, that's stress and you can manage that. So, so for us, for example, our boat was hit by lightning just a couple months ago. And that's a huge part of our business. And my husband was completely stressed out. And I was like, we're going to meditate on this. We're going to make the calls we need to call. We moved some charters around. He was able to use another boat for a couple things. And sure as shit, someone said something that triggered a thought here, and this person came down to help us, and we were able to file an insurance, and it all worked out perfectly and magically. So I do believe that there's an element of surrendering and letting things go. So knowing that you can control what you can control. I mean, there's a serenity prayer around that. It's amazing. If you embrace that and really live that, you will be able to overcome peace and have peace in your life. And that is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be peaceful. We're not supposed to be these stressed out people. So I do believe really, really making sure that we use tools to have to be able to manage the stress and get through it, and not make excuses that it's okay to have it, because I just don't believe that. So and we have stuff all the time, but again, we manage through it. We're like, nope, I'm good. This is not going to get me. Everything works out in my favor. This is not going to get me. Everything works out in my favor. Even menopause. I managed through it. I'm 52. I gained 10 pounds in January. So I've lost 5 already. I figure it out. I manage through it. I don't sit in it and make an excuse for things that are happening for us. We figure them out.
Finding the tools and like Muneerah was saying, managing it. Things are going to happen. Things are going to, whatever's going on, finding those tools and managing them. That's really awesome. So now we're at what's your final advice? I'm going to ask to both of you, and it could be maybe a tool you want to share that you think is really powerful. If there's one thing, is there one thing that someone can do if they really don't have a lot of tools in their toolbox right yet about stress? I'll let you go first, Melinda.
I would say learn to say no. Learn to say no. Everything is about living in your truth, and living in your truth comes from a place of love. You don't have to say yes to everything. You don't have to like everyone. It's okay. Like, just learn to say no. And the more and more you learn to say no, the easier it will get, I promise you. And I work that way with so many of my clients. I'm like, why are you saying yes? And they're like, gosh, you're right. You know, why am I saying yes? You're absolutely correct. So that's just a huge thing. If I had one piece of advice for all the beautiful women out there, learn to say no.
I love that. Can I share that when my girls were young, a couple of times they were invited to go to, well, actually both ways. They were invited to go to a birthday party they didn't really want to go to. And otherwise, they were having a birthday party in which there was a limited amount of people that could come because they were doing like Build-A-Bear. I don't know if you know Build-A-Bear, but there was only so many people that could come. And so they were like, oh, you know, how do I say yes to someone, no to someone? How do I, you know, decline? And I was like, you really don't have to give them some kind of reason, because not being completely honest and kind of, you know, making it seem like I can't go because, and maybe it's sort of true and not true. You know how people might want to do that to not hurt someone's feelings. I said, oftentimes nobody asks you why. And really, if you don't want to, you don't want to, and it's okay. Or I'm not available. Or I'm just going to decline. That's all. So I tried to show them when they were younger, and I hope that it stuck a little bit with them, because I really felt like I was saying yes to all these things. Like in my 20s, I was always saying yes. I was afraid of hurting people's feelings, and it bit me many, many times. So,
and I love that you shared that example, because it goes into justification. Why do we then feel we need to justify? So you just hit that other next level mind loop that many of us go into. Why do we need to justify? We don't. We said no.
Yeah.
So I love your example. It's beautiful, Lynn. Thank you.
And thank you. And often people aren't even going to ask any further. You say yes or you say no.
They're so consumed with themselves. They're like, okay.
We think they're going to ask us a million questions. They're probably not. But anyway, thank you. That's great. I actually wrote that down because I'm gonna make a post about this. Muneerah, what about your advice in this area?
So I completely 200% endorse Melinda's to say no. I'm the queen of saying no, by the way. So that's big. I'm going to share a tool which I love, which is very easy to do, and that is breath work. And I think if people are not out doing breath work out there and they do have higher stress levels, it is one of the easiest, most profound, most beneficial tools to do. And there are tons of videos on YouTube and anywhere else. Or connect with me. I'll happily share them. But the breath work that brings your stress level from here to here in a matter of minutes is one of the best things that people can practice. It just calms the nervous system down. It relaxes the brain. And it is like a must-have tool. It's like a must-have to do every day. Must do every day.
I agree. Can I share a really funny story to support that?
Yeah.
So years ago, when I was a sales rep and I worked 7 days a week, I had a huge business when we moved down here to the Keys. And I had a sales manager who would say, breathe, just breathe. Like when I was at the Atlanta gift mart and I'm running around and really busy. And I wasn't like stressed. I love to be busy. It just was like part of me, but she like it made her uneasy, right? So she would say, breathe, just breathe. And I wasn't into breath work yet. And I thought she was so condescending. I was like, oh God, why does she keep telling me to breathe? So years later, I learned the power of breath work, and it truly is an amazing tool. So breathing in the abundance, breathing out the negative energy, or box breathing is a really simple one. The Navy SEALs use that. You can Google that and visualize how to box breathe. But yeah, it's a great tool for sure.
I love that you brought up the breathing, because we can all do it. Does it really take some practice too to sort of get good at doing it? Does it feel unnatural for people at first? I know I was introduced to it a really long time ago. I don't remember.
I think it does at first, because I mean, the first reaction is, what do you mean breathing? Like, I breathe all the time, right? That's why I'm alive. But of course it's not that, right? There's a specific type of breathing that you're doing. And after you do it a few times is when you realize that I actually feel better, or I feel more relaxed, or something has changed, or I'm calmer. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of practice, but it's very fast. Like you learn it very, very fast.
You just have to remember. You have to remind yourself and remember. Yeah. So, which is the key to everything, right? It's just remembering to freaking do it. So
I love both of your tips there, and I'm going to share a little story about the breathing too. A good friend of mine, and she will describe herself as the duck on water. Like she looks always, she gets things done, but she says, I know that I'm kind of underneath it. I'm really like a bit anxious and but on the outside, people think she just does it all with ease. She was seeing a physiotherapist talking about something that was going on with her, and they were asking her to breathe, take a deep breath. And she's like, I am. Like, you're not. They're like, your breath is going about this far. Your shoulder breathing, they said to her. She's like, what? This is just how I breathe. And they're like, that is how you breathe, but that's not how I want you to breathe. And she actually took a long time to figure out how to take that deep breath. And she has to remind herself, like, hundreds of times a day, or she's just naturally been doing this really shallow breathing for so long. And they were talking about what we're talking about now, how it's kind of a stress response, but this shallow breathing. So anyway, I am very, very pleased with both of your tips and everything you've shared. I appreciate you so much. Where can people find you if they want to reach out and talk to you a bit more about this or find out more about you, Melinda?
So really simple. My website's my name, melindavanfleet.com, and Instagram is Melinda_Vanfleet. So between those two, you can connect with me then from there. So yeah, I'd love to connect with anyone out there. So thank you. And thanks for this opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Muneerah.
So I'm at wellnessredone.com or on Instagram also as at wellnessredone.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming on here today. Appreciate you. We will continue to keep doing our work and helping women move forward in all these areas, and in particular with wellness. I appreciate this topic this month. So I'm going to wish you both a great day. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you both. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.